back with episode 69 of Brentocast. It is about 10:56 in the PM on March the 3rd, 2025. And this, in fact, is a Brento on the road. So, what is Brento on the road? Of course, that means I'm not in the studio, so there's no AI content. And you might notice that I had to pop back to the old theme song that I happen to have downloaded on my files on this phone so that I could have at least a little bit of music up there. It won't be the usual pop for the intro and the outro, but that's okay. I felt like it was a good time to catch up. In general, I have not been doing much in the way of my... I have a vlog diary that I do, and I generate a sort of printout of that at the end of every month, and that becomes kind of like a personal, private article to help with my memoirs at some point that I'll post on my website. That's not shared publicly, typically. And I'll also generate one of those little LM notebooks, virtual discussions, like two podcasters talking about your content. But anyway, it's a little goofy thing that I've been doing. But I didn't do that much at all in February, and the reason was February just got away from me so fast. I did come down with COVID, unfortunately, during that time. And that's a big part of it, because when you have that, you just don't feel like doing anything. There's few things that make me feel so poorly that I don't even want to watch TV, and that is one of them. So similar to last time, I lost my appetite, did not eat very much, and it actually kind of hit me at the end of about a 25-hour fast, and so I thought maybe I just was low sugar or something like that. So I felt like I was a couple of days into it before I even realized really what was going on. And I did try to work 30 minutes on one day, and it was the most brutal thing. By the end of that, I was like, hey, obviously I'm well sick. So then I kind of like isolated myself at that point. And unfortunately, we had or fortunately, however you look at it, we had quite a lengthy vacation planned. Now, just for the record, for me, a regular vacation is like 2 nights, 3 days. That's about all I want usually, and I'm ready because I'll go off to these places. I'll get a little relaxed, and my mind will just go crazy, and I'll want to have an instrument and write, and that's just the way creativity works with me. The more I have to be in places at a certain time, the more that I want to stop and write. So lots of times I'll bring a ukulele, and I've actually recorded the basis for several songs on ukulele down here at North Myrtle, and taken those back and turned them into studio recordings. And that's always fun. But this time, of course, with COVID being in the mix, I did not know to what degree I would be able to, vacation, if you will. And this time, Summer and Delilah were coming with us, and then first he said no, and then he changed his mind. Her boyfriend Patrick came down for the last couple days. But we were staying at an amazing place called Ocean Watch Grand Dunes in a villa, which is quite the step up from a standard-sized condo. And the whole place was just really amazing. The incredible heated outdoor pools, really nice restaurants, coffee shops, and all that, and just beautiful, beautiful place. Which the biggest, coolest thing of all was no smoking. No smoking anywhere on it. You have to kind of go off away from the, from anywhere people are going to be to get to the smoking areas. And that is so cool. I was very impressed with that. But anyway, I digress. So on the way down, I didn't feel good driving. I literally was like, I'm not sure I can drive. So it's one of the rare occasions, it's like Nancy loves to drive off and go do things on her own. But, if I'm in the car, it's like she has no arms and legs. She's not capable of driving. So it's always me. It's always me driving. And so this time it was really different. And I got to say, I liked it. I liked being chauffeured, or I could just nod off and take a nap or whatever, although I didn't. I was kind of like a half out of it because of the medicine. But anyway, let me just say this. Okay, so the salvation for us when we had COVID the first time around was the monoclonal antibodies. And they take about 24 hours to take about an hour to get, and then 24 hours to to really feel the effects of. But once you do feel the effects, it stops you from getting any sicker. And from that point on, you start recovering. And this time, Big Pharma has, in my opinion, illegally made those illegal to push their so-called vaccine. Well, now instead you can get something called, various types of recovery IVs. Now, I gather they're also marketed to people who might have a hangover and just really have to have it at work, so they'll go and get one of these. Now, they can be quite expensive. The one I had, I think, was like $300. But let me tell you, now that I know about these, if I ever do get COVID again, as soon as I realize I have it, I will not lay there for the week and suffer and, lose weight because you're not eating anything for days and days and days on end. I will go get this thing, because when I tell you it's instantaneous, I mean, literally, it takes about 20 minutes to administer, and after 5 minutes, you start fluffing up and you feel better. Now, that said, it did not remove all of the symptoms immediately, but what it did do was put me in a position where my body could just kind of get over top of it and start recovering. And so, I pretty much did recover. I didn't have any more bad headaches. For me, that's the way it manifests. I don't want to eat or drink anything, and then I get dehydrated, and then that's when the bad headaches come, and that's what I had a time with this time. But anyway, that said, I was able to go out and do stuff. The only thing is, a little bit of walking would really wear me out for a couple days there. I'm feeling much better now, and so I guess this would have been Wednesday, 2 weeks ago, that I got it. So I'm 2 weeks out from when I think I got it. It was actually the day that it snowed in Albemarle. But yeah, I feel pretty good. Other than maybe I'm just not quite 100% back. I'm going to try to get back to working out this week and at the very latest next week. But the important thing is, with March 1st comes time to weigh in. Well, now I weighed in 6 days prior to that just because I felt like I was feeling really lean. And I weighed in at 306 pounds, which would have been a 7-pound loss from the previous month, which, 7-8 pounds a month. I'm with it. That works, to get me where I need to go. But I feel like I've lost even more than that. So we will see. I will weigh in tomorrow, and just whatever it is, I know I'm right there about to break 300. If I'm not already below 300, I will break 300 in this next month, and that's a big, big deal, you guys. I can't even tell you. I cannot overstate how it has been probably 20 years since I have been under 300 pounds. And I promise you, and, I try to make a covenant with myself, with the Lord, for helping me get through this, that I'm going to maintain a lifestyle that keeps me underneath 300 pounds. Because above it, things change, man. You just get, everything's harder. Everything is harder. So a fringe benefit, I've performed through all this at all these various weights, and I found myself sitting on a chair a lot, and that's not best for performance, and it's not best for my soul. So, the last show with Harrison that we did, which was on February 14th, Valentine's Day at Rosebriar, I stood up for that show, got through it just fine, and actually felt energetic the whole time. So the program is working. Suffice to say, the program is working. Now, I don't know if the workouts will be the same as they are. One thing I've tried to do, because I know I am focused on getting below 300, is I've tried to avoid the kind of workout that builds muscle. And I think that was a plan that me and the trainer had talked about, and we've sort of stuck to that. So instead of it being I'm going to do 10, reps as heavy as I can or whatever, it'll be 3 sets of 15 or 20 or 25. A lot of the shoulder work has been the ski machine, which is just all about reps, so high reps, in other words. And a couple of days we do carry heavy stuff type things, but I do think that tends to build muscle, and so we haven't done as much of that, but I digress. As long as I keep losing, I'm not going to change anything that I'm doing, other than I'm going to eat cleaner than I have been. I'm trying to be conscientious, whereas before, because the trainer said, you can do this, be kind to yourself, have whatever you want. And I think as far as your mental wellness and sticking with stuff, that's a great thing. I mean, I think there's people that can't hear the word diet, but if I say to you, hey, every day of the week, you can have exactly what you want to eat. Here's the thing. You got to put time between your meals. You need to put 20 hours, 18 hours, whatever you can do between those meals, and you can still have exactly what you want and lose weight. And here's the real trick. The real magic is when you have those decadent things, your lust for them goes away. And if you realize you can have that ice cream or you can have that piece of cake, what happens is you just don't want it. You get, your stomach shuts down. You go into something like, man, I'm gonna eat all these fries. You have like 3 French fries and you're full. And it's literally like the equivalent of the Ozempic effect without the negative side effects. So, my last episode was talking about, like losing weight, Ozempic style, but without the actual Ozempic. A friend of mine said, hey, I can starve for free. And I thought that was a gross oversimplification, but actually accurate. It's all about putting less calories in your body. And if you're one of those people that has a trouble sticking to a diet, well, just think of it this way. It's not really a diet. You're just not eating 3 times a day. You're just putting time between your meals enough to let you get that meal out before you put the next one in. And I think that really is the crux of it. But when you get up to around 24-hour fast, well, if you think about that, if you go and you fast 24 hours, obviously the time gets moved forward every day as to when you eat. And you're actually not eating at all over 4 days of the week. So there's literally no way you can eat enough food unless you're just really trying to not have a huge calorie deficit. Calorie deficit means you're going to lose weight, period. So anyway, not to get too off on that, but I just want to cover the weekend that we had here. So we were with Summer and Delilah and then Patrick through, I guess it was Sunday. So Nancy and I decided to stay Monday, which was today. And we will leave tomorrow morning and go do a full day of work. And we'll be leaving here probably about 4:45 in the morning. And as fate would have it, I've rested so much when I had the COVID, even though it wasn't good rest. Now, of course, I'm not super sleepy. I was sleepy earlier. We actually contemplated going back tonight, but just decided, hey, we'll just rest here tonight and, go off in the morning. And it's a very quiet time to make that drive anyway. Going that early, you're not running into any traffic to speak of. So with the exception, I think Waze says that going in the morning is like something like 6 minutes longer than going in the evening, like if we were to leave right now. But pretty chuffed about the the whole situation. There's some other news I'm going to share about something we did down here, but it won't be in this podcast. I'm going to get my thoughts together about it because it's something I said I would never do, and it made sense for us to do it. And the hows and the whys and the particulars I do want to capture on this podcast for my own just remembrance and stuff, and to see if when I look back I'll be as happy with the decision as I think I am right now. But I don't want to do that, I want that to be something I plan out a little bit more. So I'll save that for later. We did a bunch of stuff this time. We ate a bunch of different places that we hadn't before, including Lava Korean. They call it Korean Steakhouse. It's kind of a takeoff on K-Pot, but not exactly the same style as K-Pot. And I thought the beef was quite a bit better. Nancy didn't seem to care for it, but I really liked it. And then today we went to a place, it's some sort of oyster bar, and real fresh seafood. And I had calamari, and it was after an 18-hour fast, so I was really hungry. I had calamari, mini shrimp, and a margarita, and about a half a piece of cake that she had got, and a coffee. And it was good, man. It was super solid. It felt great. And actually, my appetite coming back, your appetite is so squashed. It came back after COVID a little bit more than what it was even before, because I'd really become accustomed to just having that one meal a day. I don't usually do a window. Down here, I was doing the window just because I knew I was, in kind of like a caloric deficit to the point where I wasn't feeling as good. So, I wanted to fluff up a little bit, and I did. So, I had like a 2 or 3 hour window where I would eat, but pretty chuffed about the results so far. I mean, it's just a dry. So I think I've lost about 60 pounds in total, and man, there's times that I look at myself in the mirror and I go, man, who is that dude? It's like it's different. And then there's other times I go, God, you still got a big fat belly. You don't just lose it the places that you want. You lose it in places that you don't think you're fat, even though you are. Like in my case, it's like upper chest. I was just carrying a mountain of flesh right there, and a lot of that is gone now. And I've definitely went from I can legitimately wear a 2X t-shirt now, and I was in a 4X when I started this, so that's awesome. But dropping the bucket, and I always said that I thought when I started that I was arguably, like if you were to say Brent Bowers, based on his height, should be 203 pounds. Now, I know it's not that lean because that's not accounting for my age, and I don't happen to know what it is right now. When I was 23, that at my height, which at the time was an inch taller, because over time gravity compresses you. Now I can be that tall again if I have the right kind of work on my pelvis and all that, but ultimately, like, I'm an inch shorter, so that changes this equation a little bit. But it always said, 203 pounds is what the Army said I should weigh, and that's exactly what I weighed coming out of basic training, and I was anemic. I didn't look good, man. It's like the neck was 11 inches around. So I'm not going for that kind of lean, but I'll tell you what I really would like. If I could see 240 pounds, I think for me that would be a very, very lean dad bod, I'm not trying to be, muscle man over here, but if I ever do get to that weight goal, then I'm going to flip the script, and I'm going to eat a different kind of way, and I'm going to focus on building muscle. Muscle is great because when you do eat the bad stuff or whatever, it burns it off. It burns a lot more fat if you have it. But of course, I have some muscle mass. I just don't have it like I used to. So I always said I was going to go back to jiu-jitsu when I crested when I got below 300. And as fate would have it, Phil talked me into coming by one night for a little boxing lesson when there was nobody over there. Everybody was out sick or whatever. And then another night I was there trying to kind of get Delilah into the kids' class, and I don't ultimately think that's going to be the place I take her. I think it needs to be an environment with more little kids, but we'll see. But anyway, he taught me into warming up and grappling a little bit with one of the guys over there. And that guy's like really at the point where he's just doing it all the time. And man, I tell you what, I am still really flexible in the hips, but then in the groin, I'm not as flexible. And even trying to just like lightly grapple and drill in the sense of drills, it's wow, man. It's a different animal getting back there. But anyway, I was talking to Todd, my trainer, about the idea of going back. I said, I always said below 300, I can get through that without hurting myself. And he says, I would really like for you to wait till you're like 290 or 280, like really solid below that, so that, you don't risk any of your results. And I thought, what, there's wisdom to that. And I definitely agree with that idea. So that's what I'm going to do. And I don't think it will be all that long until I'm like routinely weighing in at 290, like maybe another month. So I think I'm going to do that. But when I reach that threshold, and I'll know it, I'll just feel it. The strength will be a certain kind of way. And then the stamina. The stamina has already came a long way back just from working with Todd doing performance carry stuff. And, I can do more of that on my own, and I really should. I had started doing, right when I got COVID, I had started doing the low-impact cardio every day on my own, and that's a good time to kind of like, there's all kind of stuff I can do with that 30 minutes, like I can use like that as a meditation time, or I can use that as a Bible reading time with Audible, and I've embraced that idea, and I'm really into it. But unfortunately, COVID kind of zapped me right there. I'm going to get back on that. I'm going to focus on doing some outdoor walking with my dogs. So these are things I call active play, and I want to try to increase the active play. I'm still going to try to stick with going once a week to the trainers, but in the times that I can't do that, hopefully I'll be able to do the active play things. Now, another quick thing I wanted to talk about is the format of my weekly vlog, which I have been doing on an iPhone 13 Pro S. Still love the iPhone, and I'll still do some of that, but I've now got these Meta Ray-Ban Meta glasses, I guess. Ray-Ban Meta glasses, they're Wayfarers, and basically they have a camera in them and an AI assistant, but I can hands-free record video and photos. And for interacting with Delilah, this is awesome. I can literally make the vlog without ever stopping to take my phone out, and it's just so much more natural. She practically forgets the glasses are there, so she's being herself a lot more than if I'm pointing the camera at her, because she's very precocious. She knows she's cute. The camera goes on and she puts on her little character, and sometimes you don't want that. You just want to see what's happening in the moment. And my only gripe about it is it's a different aspect ratio, but it's not as skinny as as some things are. So it's a little wider, but it's tall and wide, and it's a good quality video, good quality audio. The photos are 12 megapixel. So it's starting to grow on me, and I'm making a unique playlist on my Instagram, my TikTok, and my Triller, and also YouTube for these videos. Thus far, I have been putting them into, basically doing a day's worth of content, running it off, editing it, putting it up on a private playlist, and I will re-download that again just so I can edit it a little more accurately and put my music on it a bit more than just the whatever background music's in the wild and things of that nature. And I'm going to make a decision on how long each episode is, because right now it's kind of all over the place, anywhere from 2 or 3 minutes to, I think my longest one's like 28 minutes. But it's very cool, though. It's like a slice of life. I actually started this on Valentine's weekend, and already I'm getting a positive feedback on it and a lot of hits, so that's cool. But I like the idea of carrying on with this for a while. In addition to the weekly vlogs. The weekly vlogs do suffer a little bit from this, but I don't know. I've got this thought that maybe I'll do that thing that some news agencies do when they show vertical video, is they'll sort of stretch it out, have a copy of it on the layer beneath, and they stretch that out and blur it out, and then they leave the top copy as the presentation, and that way you kind of have like a 16:9 aspect ratio video out of it. So I'm going to try that tomorrow with this first series from Myrtle Beach, and I may try presenting that as one big video, and we'll just see what happens. We'll see if people embrace that. I know that we got friends and, dare I say, fans of Nancy that follow my videos, so there you go. For me, I really just do it for myself, and the fact that Delilah someday will be able to look back at it and, essentially view her childhood, from a cinematic perspective, and that's pretty dope. I would have loved to have had that as a kid, but, all things being equal, any format I do is going to be good, but I'm of course always looking for the least obtrusive format. And cameras are changing all the time. The technology is really, really growing. I do have an ambition to do a film with an iPhone before I'm done filmmaking. On that note, I am working on a cinematic trailer for On-Set Cinema, and hopefully that will be done very soon. So if you happen to make it out to Myers House NC On-Set Cinema events, you'll be seeing a trailer that I worked on and some original music that I composed for it. As always, when I say I mean me and Harrison Foreman, because there is no Brent Bowers without the Foreman part of that equation, Harrison Foreman. So Bowers Foreman actually got a gig. I was tinkering we went to see a band Sunday night, and they had canceled. So I went over and played on their piano and did a few numbers, and they've always let me do this when I go to this place. And they got to talking to us, and I gather they're Armenian people. They're extremely nice and very friendly, and started asking, "Hey, are you a musician?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd tinker." He goes, "You look like a musician." My hair was down and pretty wild. And but anyway, long story short, they booked Harrison and I to come and play next month at this Carolina Steakhouse, and it is a super cool place. It literally has like a dance club in one end of it with a performance stage, and I guess that's where we'll be playing. And very, very excited about it. So Harrison and I will be traveling all the way to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to do a show. Very, very excited about that. What we're doing with Bowers Foreman this year is trying to really polish up our show, and I think we've proven that that's happened with our February 14th performance at Rosebriar. It went over very well. And, we're synchronizing our clothing. We're just doing we're having a specific set list. And this is going to be a 3-hour show, too. We usually do a 2-hour show. But Saturday night, we will be doing our 2-hour show at Loafers and Legends. Hope you guys can come out and check that out. A great place to catch some live music. And you'll see the new show for Bowers Foreman. And yeah, always forward. We have several gigs coming up. Our live band, The Justified, has a 3-hour performance scheduled for Arbor Day Festival in Norwood on April 26th. I believe it is. It's the Saturday, whatever that Saturday is. And so this would be just the week before that. We'd be here in South Carolina. So it's going to be an exciting time getting to play that much. And as always, I'm just thrilled to still be playing. So many of my folks have fallen away. We're recording a lot. We're writing a lot. It's just an amazing time. I just have to get the albums out that we have already recorded. That's the only stress on me right now for that, and I'm working on it. So, yeah, I think that's enough, man. Maybe I'll feel sleepy now and be able to head off for a couple of winks before I got to drive 3 hours home and then have a couple massages tomorrow and kind of get back in the flow now that I'm alive again. As always, thanks for listening to Brentocast, and there'll be more. When I have more, I'll be sharing all the Brento news that's fit to print.